I'm Dylan Wissing. Welcome to Triple Colossal Studios and the Workbench. So, if you know me, you know I like old weird stuff. And the other day I stumbled upon this old, it's a WFL snare drum, probably from the 30s or 40s, old mahogany wood drum. And I was cleaning it up and suddenly realized that I have basically the identical modern version of this drum made by GMS Drum Company. And so I thought this is a really good time to do a compare and contrast of these two drums because they really share a whole lot of the same specs. We're going to pull the heads off and let's look inside these drums and see where they differ and where they're the same. Back in a second. Alright, so both of these are thin-shelled drums with reinforcing hoops. That's this section. They're each, let's see, they have an inner core of poplar and then inner and outer plies of mahogany, this darker wood, and looks like maple reinforcing hoops on both drums. Both drums have really rounded bearing edges, just really nicely curved over all around. They each have 8 tuning lugs, 8 tension lugs per drum. The only real size difference is this is a 7-inch depth and this is a 6.5-inch depth on the GMS. Both are 14-inch shells. The vintage drum has a double flanged hoop, which is this. It's pretty thin, and it's double flange means it has 2 bends, one right here, and then one right here, and then it also has this straight strip of metal. As you can see, this is also sometimes referred to as a stick chopper hoop, which means every time you hit a rim shot, your stick is chopped right at this edge, and you'll go through sticks pretty quick with this kind of hoop. And then the modern hoops, of course, are triple flange, which means 1, 2, 3. This bend on the outer edge, which saves a lot of sticks. This is also a much thicker hoop and just a heavier hoop all around. And so you can hear the difference. I mean, here's a modern hoop. And then here's the vintage hoop. The modern one is just, it rings a lot louder and a lot brighter. So I'm pretty sure that's going to affect the tone of these drums. I'm guessing this is going to be definitely the darker of the two drums, just given this construction. I really like vintage drums and have messed around with a lot of them over the years, but the more I do, the more I start to really appreciate what modern drums bring to the table. For example, these the lugs on this drum, I think these are called Zephyr lugs from the 30s. It's a sheet of metal, basically folded into a lug shape and threaded. And they're about as cheap as you can get, with held together with these little flathead screws. They're a real pain in the butt to take apart and clean and put back together. This drum was held together, I discovered, with 2 completely different sizes of screws, which was really annoying when I was putting it together. And just the way you have to put it together actually ended up nicking the finish on this thing by, the flathead screwdriver slipped out of my hand and scratched this old Duco finish. So, the modern stuff, you tension everything from the inside. It's every single screw is uniform. It's really easy to do, and it's really straightforward. The hardware works. The vintage stuff, again, it's very finicky and can be a lot of work to deal with. They have their charms. This definitely has vintage character and what they call patina. It's got patina, plenty of patina, but any drum will do that, given enough age. Here's another issue why I'm getting out of the vintage drum business. Okay, so I have here an Aquarian texture coated 14-inch batter head, great all around snare drum head. And so when I put it on this drum, I can get it on, but it's really snug. I mean, I really have to push it down over the bearing edge, and then I don't know if you can tell, but it's just really dead. There's no tone to this head. To get it off, I kind of have to yank it off. And as you can hear, there's plenty of tone in this head. It's completely deadened by the oversized shell. So Aquarian Aquarium makes a head that deals with this exact issue, the American Vintage series. And, you know, it's just a little bit wider. It goes on nice and smoothly. You know, I can rotate it. The tone's still there. And the head, that's all great. However, on this particular drum, the hoop won't fit it. So there's no way I can get this hoop over the collar here. And, I mean, I could try, but I'd probably end up destroying the hoop, honestly. So I'm going to have to make a compromise with this drum in that, you know, the hoop fits just fine on the just regular modern head, but I know it's going to be muffled somewhat. I mean, I could obviously swap out the hoops for a modern hoop, but I'm trying to keep this drum original and, you know, preserve the original parts because it is a vintage drum and that's cool. So I you know, like I said, I'm going to have to make a sacrifice and a compromise, and I'm just pretty sure this drum is going to be a lot more muffled sounding than the modern GMS, where every head fits just fine without an issue. One other issue I wanted to mention on vintage drums, which is the snare bed, and that's this indentation on the bottom head right where the snare strings pass, and basically they give the head a little spot where the strings can go a little bit lower and pull the snares tight against the head so you get a crisp response. On old drums, the snare bed is very narrow and pretty deep. And what you're going to find with modern plastic heads, you're going to end up with this little wrinkle here on the right at the snare bed, and sometimes it can be kind of obnoxious and actually make the drum hard to tune. So one tip I would recommend is you can get your hot air dryer from home and just turn on high and just really gently, just do a little bit at a time. You'll see how fast it works, but you just blow hot air right in here and you'll see the plastic film kind of form to the bearing edge itself, and you can kind of custom fit your modern plastic head to an old drum. Just be really careful because you can pretty easily melt the head and ruin it, and you don't want that to happen. Alright, so let's get these drums tuned up. We'll take them in the studio and see how they sound next to each other. We have them tuned up with identical heads, top and bottom, Aquarium texture coated on top, regular classic clear underneath, the exact same snare wires, just stock GMS snares. And we have them tuned as close as we can get them. Okay, let's hear these drums. You may be able to tell, and you may not, this drum is definitely more choked than this one. They both sound really cool. I'm getting a lot more kind of the beat of the drum from this one, and it's definitely a lot more open and it is projecting better. That's not necessarily this drum's fault. I mean, this drum was designed for calfskin heads 80 years ago, and not designed for, you know, heads of 2015. So, however, you know, I live in 2015, and calfskin heads are hard to find and really expensive. So, you know, I'm going to have to go with the brand new GMS drum that sounds a whole lot like the vintage WFL, but it's, for a whole lot of reasons, a whole lot easier to deal with. So, GMS, you guys have done it again. Thank you very much, and keep it up, you guys. You rock.